Welcome to the Power in Motion podcast, the show for women who want to develop a kinder relationship with their body so you can feel healthy, happy, and confident without restricting food, doing torturous exercise, or constantly worrying about the number on the scale. I'm your host, Kim Hagel, size inclusive fitness specialist and certified non-diet health and life coach specializing in body image. This podcast is here to provide weight neutral, health at every size aligned information and coaching on sustainable habits and mindset shifts so you can feel your very best in the body you have right now. Let's lace up our runners and go for a walk while we chat. Hey friends, welcome to the Joyful Movement Show. Welcome back. You might hear some noises in the background. I am recording this podcast today live out in nature. I'm on a hike and I'm recording this podcast as I walk. You might be wondering why, and let me tell you the story. You might also have noticed that there was no podcast episode released last week, and that leads me to why we're here in this way today. I'm going to be open and honest with you and a little bit vulnerable here. It might surprise you to know that sometimes, in fact, a lot of the time, I really struggle in writing and recording my podcast episodes. There is something about sitting in front of a microphone, looking at my blank computer screen that activates my nervous system. And even though I know I have lots to say, I know I'm an intelligent person and that there's value in this podcast and that you folks find it helpful, I sit and I stare at that computer and nothing gets done. And that happened last week, as it has many times in the past. And I just could not seem to get myself to get the words out. I sat and I tried to write my words as I often do. I end up writing my script word for word because that seems easier than speaking free flow. But the words weren't coming. I was starting to write. I was backspacing. I was struggling. And this is not a new thing. This has been going on for a while. And I have received coaching a number of times and really tried to dig into the beliefs, what is causing me to have such a block around recording podcasts. And even with all of the work I've done, it's still been an issue. So last week, I just chose not to fight myself on this, and I did not record a podcast episode. And in the meantime, I got some coaching, both from the coach I work with and another peer who's also a coach. And both of my coaches said, what if podcasting doesn't have to be done that way? Right? Like, I think I've been believing that for a podcast to be good, it has to be polished. It has to flow in a certain way. It has to follow a certain format. The sound quality has to be really good. That to me is what I've defined as a good podcast. And both of these coaches that I talked to about this are like, well, what if it doesn't have to be that way? What if it can be whatever you want it to be? What if it can be whatever is easiest and most fun for you? And they're like, what would be fun for you? How would you like to record your podcast? And I said, well, I often get a lot of great ideas when I'm out hiking, when I'm out in nature. And then, I think I've got all these brainwaves. I'm going to use them for my episode. And then I come back to the office and I sit by my microphone and I forget everything that was in my head. So they will say, well, why wouldn't you just take your phone with you and record your podcast as you go? And I thought, well, that could be fun. It could be fun. And it's ironic because in the introduction to this podcast, I say, let's pop our earbuds in and go for a walk while we chat. You've probably heard me say that hundreds of times. And maybe you do that while you're listening, but I'm not doing that. I'm sitting behind a computer, behind a microphone, staring at a blank screen and struggling with writer's block. So I thought I'd take some of my own advice and get out here in nature and free flow. And, I don't know if we'll always do it this way, but it's sure feeling nice right now. I wish you could see what I'm seeing. I'm hiking on a beautiful trail near where I live. The lily of the valley is just popping up. The river is flowing. It's a gorgeous spring day. The sun is shining. The sky is clear. It's like so healing for my soul. I'm loving every second of being out here. And I kind of feel like you're here on this walk with me, which is really cool. And I'm telling you the story, one, because I think it's important that I'm real with you, that I share what's really going on in my life, that I'm open and vulnerable. I mean, I want to get to know you better, and I think it's only fair that you get to know me better. So I want to be truthful about what I'm experiencing. But two, the other reason I bring this up is because I think it ties in really well with what we've been discussing these last few weeks about simplifying wellness. How there's so much messaging around how chasing health and chasing wellness has to be so perfect, that has to be done a certain way, that you have to eat just right and exercise just in a certain way. And what I'm trying to teach you through this series, it doesn't have to be so hard. It can be simple. Health can be simple. It's just all of this stuff that we've been believing from the messaging that we've been taught that makes us believe it has to be so hard. And here I am in the same situation with my podcast, thinking that in order for my podcast to be good, for it to be quality, it has to be hard and such a slog for me to produce it. So I've chosen to make podcasting easier for me. And I want to show you how choosing health can be easier for you. And that's what we're going to really dig into this episode, is how you can really start to make it a whole lot simpler. Because let's face it, it does seem really hard. There is so much information out there. It all contradicts each other. It's so confusing. It's so hard to sift through it all and try to make sense of it and figure out which pieces are right for you, or you try things and they don't seem to work. And the more and more we try to chase health, the harder and harder it gets. So let's talk about health, because I know we all want to be healthy. We all want to feel our best for as long as we possibly can. And I know there are a lot of you listening who, when I talk about diet culture, don't identify with that. You say, I've never been on a diet. It's not about weight loss for me. It's just about being healthy. I know that diets don't work. I'm not into that, but I want to be healthy for as long as possible. And whether that's because you have a health concern or you have symptoms and you want to feel better, you legitimately want to improve the way that you feel, or maybe there's a family history of something and there's a fear that you could develop illness in your older years, or even just through the messaging that we all hear that because of your body size, it's only a matter of time until you develop a health concern. So I get that. I get that concern that we all want to be healthy. And I also want to address diet culture in this conversation because it's sneaky and it's tricky. And there are a lot of programs out there explicitly saying that they are not a diet, that are 100% a diet. But be that as it may, let's talk about this quest for health and how it seems so hard. I meet a lot of people like you, and I certainly remember being in this place myself, having rejected dieting and saying, like, I really don't care about the weight anymore. I just want to be healthy. I even remember believing that if I really loved and respected myself, that I should do everything I could do to be healthy, eating only what I called good quality foods and giving my workouts all that I could, never missing them even when I wanted to. But then I still struggled, right? Like you, I still struggled. I struggled with my eating and my exercise. And I remember feeling very confused about which lifestyle was the best or the healthiest, and wondering all the time if what I was doing was actually working to make me healthier, especially if I didn't see body changes. Even when I stopped weighing myself, I still measured body changes as a sign of my health through either taking physical measurements with the measuring tape or just looking at how my body shape looked when I looked in the mirror. And then if I didn't see those changes, I'd have a really hard time sticking to the lifestyle I'd chosen, even though I was fully committed to my health. And I thought, like, I'm sure a lot of people do, that maybe I just hadn't found the right thing for me yet, the thing that works for me. Because there are so many different variations of the so-called healthy lifestyle out there. And I have healthy lifestyle in air quotes, which I'll explain why shortly. But each one makes a very good case for why it's the best, why it's the healthiest, why it's the most nutritious way to eat and the best way to exercise. They all cite the science. They've all got the research behind them, and they'll get into all of the scientific details about how this one helps your blood sugar and insulin levels, and this one helps you build muscle mass, and that's great for your metabolism, and this one resets your body every night because you don't eat until morning and you're burning fat and like blah, blah, blah. They've all got the science to prove them. And I don't know about you, but I have tried many a lifestyle trying to find just the right one. So let's just pause for a minute, take a moment of silence, and pay tribute to all of the so-called healthy lifestyle that I've tried in my days. I started out with the clean eating diet, clean eating in air quotes, but what that involved was avoiding all sugar, processed foods, alcohol, things like that. I went from there to trying different shakes and cleanses, detoxes, then counting macros, trying to stay within a daily calorie range, trying to match how much I burned in exercise with how much I was eating and making sure that I had just the right balance of protein, fat, and carbs to fuel my body effectively. So many air quotes going on here as I talk. From there, I went on to paleo because that's supposedly the right way for us to eat because that's how our caveman ancestors did it. Tried that. Didn't have great success. So I went on from there to the Whole30, which is basically the paleo diet, but with absolute rigidity, no room for cheating at all for 30 days. You don't let even a morsel of grains, sugar, alcohol cross your mouth for 30 days. And the whole idea is that if you get to that point, that you will no longer desire these things and you'll just eat like a caveman for the rest of your life and be the perfect picture of health and all the fat will melt off your body. Well, guess what? On day 30, I ate all the things. The next one I tried was keto, which is paleo's cousin, very much the same, except that carbs of all kinds are limited because the science behind keto says that you can train your body to live off of protein and fat as fuel, and you don't actually need carbs to run your body. Tried that, failed miserably. And then I tried just the moderation diet. All foods were allowed in moderation and choose wisely most of the time. It's kind of the essence behind the moderation diet. Still had a difficult time even with that one. That's when I gave it up. That was the end of my healthy lifestyle days. But I know that now the one that's trending is intermittent fasting. And I was recently talking to a prospective client last week who asked my opinion on intermittent fasting. She has rejected dieting ages ago. She knows that dieting doesn't work. And she says it's not about weight. It's just about trying to be as healthy as possible. She has an autoimmune disease that affects her blood sugar and her metabolism. And intermittent fasting, the attraction to it for her is that it promises to regulate her blood sugar and insulin levels and help her manage these symptoms that she's having. And I cautioned her. And of course, you know, what I always tell people is you are the authority of your body. Like, I am not here to tell you not to do these lifestyles or to do them. I do not have the authority on what you do with your body. Only you have that. Only you know what is the right decision for you. I'm here to offer you a different perspective, and I'm here to shed some light on why these things haven't worked in the past, why you keep moving from one to the other, and why you're never sure if it's working, why you never feel the way that you really hope to feel. or why even if you are feeling better, there's still this internal struggle to stick with it. And like I said, I think the big reason for that is because there's all these lifestyles out there masquerading as not a diet that are absolutely 100% a diet. So go on back to episode 3.3, where we talked about how any form of restriction in our eating, whether that's the amount of food you're eating, the type of food that you're eating, the timing of food, it's always going to result in rebound eating. Anytime that we are restricted in these healthy lifestyles, and healthy in air quotes, 100%, even though the things that they're recommending might be health seeking behaviors, if it's not in alignment with your desires, your hunger, your fullness, your satisfaction, then it is restriction, and your body will respond by seeking out more food, or those foods that are off plan, the foods that are supposedly not good for you, and you will eat them in abundance because you feel restricted, because your needs inside your body that only you know are not being met. It is a diet, and none of them work long term. That's why we have so many trends with all these so-called healthy lifestyle. They come and they go. Like, think back to all the lifestyles that have trended in the last 10 or 20 years. In my memory, going back to being a child of the 80s, everybody was doing the low fat Jane Fonda. That was the craze of the 80s. Nobody's doing the low fat diet anymore. I think we've proven that our bodies need fat to survive. Hardly anybody I know is doing paleo anymore. Now, keto is still kind of going, but most people who have tried it have failed. And that's where intermittent fasting is now on the rise, because we need the next thing. These lifestyles that trend and they come and they go, they don't work for people long term. So the next one rises up claiming to be the better one. There's new research, there's better research proving why this is the best way to eat. And they make a very good case for that with all of the new science and information, and they really do a great job of convincing you that this latest one is the one. But I guarantee you, it won't work either. It will not last either. There's a life cycle of about 5 years for any of these trends. And why is that? Because that's usually the length of time that it takes even the most dedicated, disciplined people following this lifestyle to fail and gain the weight back. And 95% of people will fail at any attempt to follow a diet or a lifestyle, and they will regain all of the weight that they lost on said lifestyle. But here's the other problem. Here's the other big reason why these so-called healthy lifestyles don't end up working, is because you don't actually know what you're chasing. Most of the people I talk to don't have an idea in their own mind of what health means to them. I asked this question in my group coaching program just a couple of weeks ago. I asked the participants to brainstorm what health means to them, and a lot of them had difficulty coming up with that. What came forward when we had this conversation is a lot of them are thinking about their health in terms of the behaviors that they're engaging in, the actions that they're doing, the things that they do. In other words, assuming that health is how I eat, health is how I exercise. If I do all the things right, then that is health. But they're not thinking about health in terms of what it feels like or what their individual health goals are. Like, how do you know if you are healthy? How do you know if you are feeling your best? What does health mean to you on an individual level? And I can tell you, like, there's no judgment here. It's not your fault that if you think this way. I remember feeling this exact same way myself. I remember assuming that if I just ate the right way and if I exercised regularly, that meant I was healthy. But if you asked me what healthy meant to me, I'm not sure I would have been able to answer that. I would have maybe said that it was being at a so-called healthy weight, or having a toned, chiseled, healthy looking body. Or I might have even said that health meant keeping your blood sugar stable and your blood sugar and insulin in a good balance, your hormones balanced, or reducing inflammation in my body. But I had no way to measure that. I had no way to know what my blood sugar or insulin or hormone levels even were. I had no way to measure whether my actions were creating this healthy result. I mean, I didn't regularly test my blood. I'm sure that you don't either. So I had no idea whether the actions I were taking were actually working and lowering my risk of disease. So all I was left with to measure the success of my healthy habits was my weight and how I looked. But if I couldn't stick to the lifestyle I was trying to follow, or my weight was not going in the direction that I thought it should, or my body wasn't taking the shape that I thought it should, then there was an assumption that this healthy lifestyle wasn't working for me. It wasn't the right one for my body, because we're led to believe that all bodies should be thin and fit if they're healthy. And so then I needed to try another thing, another way to chase this so-called healthy look or healthy feeling that I couldn't even define. So it's totally not my fault that I felt this way, and it's not yours either if you found yourself thinking the same way that I used to. It makes absolute sense that you would think this way. There is so much messaging. It's so very pervasive that health is a look, that health is a certain size. And even these not a diet lifestyles who say that it's not about weight, it's about health. When you look at their website, when you look at their marketing around their plan, all you see are before and after photos, which just reinforces to your brain that when you get healthy, that your body naturally releases all of this so-called toxic weight and your body just changes and you look different. We are led to believe that if we're doing it right, our body should change, that we can measure the success of these healthy lifestyles by our appearance. You never see anybody in the marketing for these so-called healthy lifestyles saying, God, I feel so much better. I'm so much stronger. I have so much stamina. My blood work is all improved. My sleep is better. I feel like $1,000,000. And they look the same or larger than when they started. You never see that in the marketing. If you did, nobody would ever buy the program. Nobody would do it. Am I right? Imagine if I told you I can help you improve in every area of your health and fitness, have you feeling the best you've ever felt in your whole life, but you might gain weight in the process. How would that make you feel? I mean, the truth is that's exactly what I do. That's exactly how I help people in my coaching. And I am very much aware that for many folks, that is very scary. We call that internalized fat phobia, the fear of fatness or weight gain in yourself. And trust me, I get it. We all have it to some degree because it's just so unavoidable in our society. Working through that is a big part of my coaching process and learning everything that we have been taught to believe about weight and what it means about us, and learning to detach ourselves from those societal expectations and give ourselves the approval and love no matter what happens to our physical body. So we're going to talk more about fat phobia and body image in a future episode, but that's what I believe drives most of us to gravitate towards these so-called healthy lifestyles. And wellness culture preys off of that fear, promising you that if you just eat this way and exercise that way, that you're going to feel amazing, everything will function great in your body, and all of the fat will just melt off of you for good. But friends, it's not true. There is no guarantee that if you do everything right, that you'll achieve great health. There's just so many factors that influence our health status, and most of which are beyond our control. Things like genetics, the environment in which we live in, and what we have access to. And the truth is, health is so privileged. If you have the privilege of steady employment, a decent income, housing, social support, it's a whole lot easier to attain health. And also, thin privilege is real. If you exist in a societally conforming body, you're a lot more likely to be taken seriously if you go into a doctor's office with a health concern rather than being dismissed and saying that your problem is just because of your weight and you need to lose weight. That stigma alone keeps so many people out of the doctor's office receiving preventative health care, thereby only increasing their risk of disease and poor health. And even the part of our health that is within our control through our lifestyle choices, which includes not just diet and exercise, but also stress, sleep, substance use, that really only counts for about 30% of our overall health picture. So even if you're doing everything that you can control right, you're really able to only influence about 30% of your overall health status. I'm sure we've all seen this in our everyday life. We all know people who take excellent care of themselves and still have terrible things happen to them. I mean, it recently happened to a close friend of mine who was the picture of health and unfortunately passed away from a terrible disease that he had no control over. And then on the flip side, we all know people who smoke, who drink, who never exercise and live till they're 95. That's not to say that we should just give up and not care and not try to live our healthiest life. But there's got to be some give and take. There's got to be some balance, and it's got to be about enjoying the journey too and not obsessing, because there just are no guarantees. Which brings me to my next point, which is to reiterate that health is just so much more than a look or a weight or even what's happening in your physical body. I mean, that's where we tend to put all of our energy and attention on, often at the expense, though, of our mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And I get that. That was me too when I was in my health obsessed days, and I really was that. It was an obsession. I had so much anxiety about weight gain, fear about becoming unhealthy, about getting sick. And I was preoccupied with food and exercise to the point that it really interfered with my life, with relationships, even my job. So maybe while I might have been physically healthy, although I was injured a lot because of my overexercise, I was suffering in all the other areas of my overall health picture. And eventually it caught up. And that's what led me to stop following these healthy lifestyles and plans in the end, and to embrace a more holistic approach. But first, before I could do that, I had to define what health even meant to me, because it was not clear in my own brain. I was just doing all of the things that were supposed to make me healthy, but I really, honestly, wasn't clear on what it was I was actually chasing, what the feeling of health was that I was going after, and that had to get cleared up first. So, if you're listening and you're identifying with this and you're jumping from one not a diet to the next, trying to figure out just the right way of eating and exercise that works for you, here are some tips to get you closer to your health goals in a way that feels balanced, intuitive, and easy, easy and simple and sustainable. Because that's what we really want. That's what a lifestyle is by definition. It's something that's sustainable. You do it for the rest of your life because it feels good and it's simple. So step one is to define what health means to you. Forget what all of the experts say and figure out what it is that you are chasing. What is the feeling that you are after? If health isn't a look or a size, what is it? When you say you want to be healthy or feel better, what does that mean to you? And if you aren't measuring your health by using the bathroom scale or taking your measurement, and you don't have access to regular blood work, how will you know that you're on the right track? What I'd like to suggest to you is consider health as a feeling. And maybe when you think of it this way, you're closer to health than you actually thought. Or maybe you're not, and that's okay. If that's the case, that brings me to step two. What can you do that will bring you closer to that feeling of health that you are chasing? What actions can you take with the time, energy, and resources that you have that are simple and easy to fit into your life that you know you could do forever without relying on willpower. And I say forever because that's what it needs to be sustainable. If you can't see yourself skipping breakfast for the rest of your life, intermittent fasting is probably not for you. If you hate running, then the idea of joining a Couch to 5K, probably not going to work. What can you add in that's health promoting, but that you would enjoy and would not require you to rely on willpower to do it? And my third tip is to consider your mental, emotional, and spiritual health too. Because our health is not just the physical. It's not just our eating and exercise. What else do you need to add into your life to improve your overall health picture, the balance between those four parts of your body? Do you need more time in nature, like me, being out here recording this podcast while I'm on a hike? Do you need to sleep more? Do you need to meditate, journal, get more connection with adults, with friends, have more meaningful relationship? Do you need to work with a therapist or a coach to work through some of your trauma or stumbling blocks? Do you need more creativity, music, joy, fun in your life? These are all health promoting behaviors. In fact, I'd say that they're probably the most important health promoting factors because when we feel good mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it's a whole lot easier to take care of our physical body. It just naturally flows from feeling good on the inside. And the last thing I'd like to give you to ponder is to check in on your mindset. When you are looking at making lifestyle changes, what's your motivation? If you feel like you're not doing enough currently, or you should be doing more, that if you cared about your body, you should treat it better, or that you need to fix something about yourself that you don't like, and assuming that once you adopt these behaviors and you do things differently, that your whole life's going to improve and you're going to start to approve of yourself more, you're going to feel better as a person. I want to offer you some caution. That kind of approach is not going to work. That kind of action is based in your not good enough voice, in your fear voice. And that voice is going to follow you everywhere you go. Even if you're taking the best quality actions, it's never going to feel like enough. Even if the result you get is exactly what you wanted, it's not going to feel good enough because you are still operating under that not good enough voice. The only way out of that, my friend, is to begin to treat yourself with kindness and respect, no matter what you look like or what your health status is. And that doesn't mean loving your body or being thrilled about your state of health if you don't feel well. But it does mean having your own back at all times and committing to not beating yourself up and requiring yourself to be different to feel worthy of your own love and respect. So the good news, what I'm trying to hammer home here today, is that it can be simple. It can be easy. You can feel healthy. You can achieve all of those health goals that are important to you without having to follow a lifestyle to a T. You can trust yourself to do this. You can create the healthy life that you want, where you feel and function your best, where you got tons of energy, stamina, strength, great mood, vitality, mental, emotional well-being, whatever health is to you, you can trust yourself to create it. You already have enough knowledge. Let's face it, we've all been receiving education about health and wellness since we were in grade school. You know everything you need to know. You just have to trust yourself to make good decisions that are right for you and let your intuition guide you. And as we talked about in the last two episodes about intuitive eating and movement, these are health promoting behaviors. It's not just about eating whatever you want. And a lot of people think intuitive movement means you're never going to get off the couch. That's not what it's about. These are health promoting behaviors. They're about looking inward, tuning into your body's cravings. Your body wants to be healthy. It wants to feel good. It will guide you. You just got to trust it a little bit more. And you could do that without all of that rigidity, all those rules, all the obsession, all the confusion and doubt that comes in when you put your trust in something external. And of course, you know that if you're struggling to trust yourself in that way, if you're out of touch with your intuition, or that fear of weight gain or body image concerns are holding you back, but you really want to move forward, then reach out to me. I can help you sift through all that muck and show you the simple, straightforward path to wellness, whatever that means to you. I can help you sift through the confusion in your brain and make it very, very simple. You all know where to find me. I'm at Radiant Vitality Wellness on all the social media channels, or my website is www.radiantvitality.ca. And through either one of those places, you can click a link to book a call with me and we can chat about what a coaching relationship would look like and if it's a good fit for you. I look forward to connecting with you. I love it when you send me messages. So if you enjoyed this podcast, shoot me a DM and let me know. And I'll look forward to seeing you back here next week. Perhaps back on the trail, because this has been really fun for me. I have really enjoyed walking and talking and taking in nature as a chat about these things that I'm so passionate about. So I'll see you back here next week, where we're going to be exploring more about the idea of confidence and addressing the thought that a lot of people have, which is, but I just felt better. I felt more confident when I was in a smaller size. So that's going to be a juicy one. In the meantime, be well. I hope that you have a great week with lots of joyful movement in there for you. And I will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning into the Power in Motion podcast today. If you love what you're learning here, then I invite you to take the next step of embodying these concepts into your own life so that you can live your healthiest, happiest life and never again feel held back by your body. Coaching is the fastest, most efficient pathway to taking what you know in your head to actually applying it and seeing results. Whether you're looking to make changes around movement, food, body image, or all three, I'm here to help you nurture a kind, respectful, and trusting relationship with your body so you can feel your very best. Click the link in the show notes to book a free consultation, and together we'll uncover what's getting in the way of you having the results you want. You'll leave this call knowing exactly what you need to work on, and together we'll explore whether one of my coaching offers is a good fit for you. I can't wait to meet you.